Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I am starting to stream. Oh my gosh. Okay, I feel like this has to happen. Nobody is going to be watching for the first bit. But in case people are watching this later, if I do post this, I feel like I need to play this song. Can you hear it? Hopefully you can hear it. I don't know. Let me ask if you guys can hear it. Hey, how's it going? Can you hear the music? Yeah? Yay? No? I can't even tell. Anyway, if you can, that's great. If you can't, I'm gonna fade it out real quick. Or just stop it. Okay, great. So, I am so happy to finally be live. Oh, you could hear it. Great. I have this little open broadcasting software thing I'm using for the first time. And so that's cool. So, it's 200,000 subscriber time. I'm so grateful to everybody, and I never expected it to go this far, but it did. Way too low. The music was too low. Please don't stop the music. Okay, I'm turning the music back on. Is the music too low? No music. Oh my god, this is the story of my YouTube career. Oh, I love the leaves in the background. Get rid of the leaves. I hate the leaves. It's like no matter what I do, someone's gonna like it, someone's gonna not like it. It's just the nature of life. Okay, I'll fade it out just so we can get into the mood. Okay, great. So I want to open it up to questions. Someone from Iran, awesome, that's amazing. Yeah, feel free to say where you're from down there. I'm really curious to see where everybody's from. I kind of see dots on my analytics of, hey, there are people in this country and not. No music, yes, new music, no music, yes. Okay, I took the music off. Hopefully everybody can be happy. We'll just keep it going. Okay, we got England, Canada, Poland, Oklahoma, Argentina, Brazil, Holland, Austria, England, everything. A lot of Canadians here. Wow, crazy. I just got a burst of like 10 Canadians. New Zealand, amazing. Somebody is awake in New Zealand right now. What time is it in New Zealand? That is incredible. Wow. Portugal, sweet. Yeah, welcome everybody from the entire world. Literally, this is the entire world. The guitar does need tuning. Someone just said the guitar needs tuning, and you are absolutely right. That guitar is now out of tune. So, sorry, I can't play it. Okay, so I figured I would open it up to questions. I thought I might divide it into maybe some health questions and then maybe some environmental questions and then whip on back to maybe some animal-related questions. So let's open it up with some health questions. Hopefully I can read it. I'm seeing Macedonia. Wow. Okay, so yeah, go for it. Go for the health questions. I have it set up, which is kind of cool, where I can go and toggle between me and research. I'm going to try it really quickly. So can you see my plant space facts page right now? Hopefully you can. So if we want to look at some research, I can go through and look at some research. My question though is, can you see my mouse? Can you see my mouse here so I can guide you guys? That's a huge question. Let me know. I'm gonna toggle back over. See. Yes, you can see the mouse. Okay, awesome. Cool. So, what's my favorite type of pasta? Okay, that's a really good question. Okay, so we're going to start talking about starches now. We're getting questions about rice, and we're getting questions about pasta. I tend to switch it up between whole wheat pasta and brown rice pasta, and sometimes I get crazy with, like, there's like a red lentil and brown rice pasta, which I like a lot. Agave nectar, I'll get to that. We'll get to refined sugars in a second. White rice is not as good for you as brown rice. It will play with your blood sugar a little bit more. I'm sure I can find some studies for you on that. I believe Dr. Greger has some videos on that as well. But basically, you want that fiber there. The moment you take the whole of the brown rice off, then you can get more of a blood sugar spike. Not as big of an issue for vegans in terms of diabetes, but you want to keep your oxidative stress from blood sugar spikes down, and so it's better to do brown rice and going for ones that are not made in places or grown in places with arsenic. And arsenic is highest in like the southeast of the United States, but places like Thailand and Asia and California are great. Lundberg rice is super low arsenic, like way below the amount that babies need or that babies can handle and stuff like that. So going for that. Okay, look into the camera. Sorry, the camera's kind of low here. I'm trying to read all your questions at the same time, so it's kind of hard. Okay, so sweet potatoes versus yams and russet, any whole potato I am totally cool with, whether it's a yam or a potato or whatever. I it doesn't matter to me. I mean, they're all great. Although the antioxidants, there are actually an okay amount of antioxidants in normal white potatoes, but once you start getting into the yams and stuff, you get a lot more antioxidants. You get the beta carotene, which is amazing. Somebody lives close to Lundberg rice. Do you use refined oils? You know I don't. Watch my oil video. I'm thinking about coming out with another oil video because there's definitely a lot of new information in there, stuff I didn't cover, and Mike the Potato. Yeah, so I'm definitely going to do another oil video. There's so many things just in terms of how oil affects the body that I didn't even cover at all. What do I use for DHA? I just do every few days. I do a like 300 milligram supplement if I remember to. But I also, I probably eat enough ALA, plant-based omegas, to convert to that DHA, so I'm probably okay. I'm actually going to do a full blood panel soon where I'm actually going to get my omegas tested and all the stuff that you don't normally get on, so I'm really interested in that. Okay, so people are asking about fruitarianism. I think that's interesting because at some point I'm going to do a video about that, but I've kind of put that by the wayside because it's kind of like not the most urgent thing to talk about. But I personally believe, and people get really mad when I say this, that we are post-frugivore starchivores, so we still have a lot of frugivore traits, but there's reason to believe that now we're no longer fully frugivores. For example, the enamel on our teeth has gotten a lot thinner than chimp, for example, and that is why a lot of fruitarians get teeth dental damage and things like that. So I can go on and on about that. And there's actually a video out there of a dude who's really angry at me. He's like, you're the worst person in the world because I said we're starchivores and not frugivores, and I could link that video, but it's not great. Coffee, yay or nay? I don't feel like I need caffeine, but there's pros and cons of coffee. Gregor also has a great series on that. Like I mentioned in my Parkinson's video, for whatever reason, there are studies showing a massive benefit for Parkinson's disease prevention when drinking coffee, because the people who had the highest consumption versus lowest consumption had 10 times lower risk. It varies from studies, but that was the most extreme one. But then again, there can be some other things that happen in people in terms of like their adrenals, which is not necessarily the best. Is vinegar okay for a whole food diet? That is something I've actually looked into a bit, and I'm probably going to do a video on it because vinegar actually helps regulate blood sugar, but it's obvious, it's like the farthest thing you can get from a whole food, which is why my only problem with the whole food diet idea is there are foods that aren't whole foods that are good for you, and there are actually whole foods that are bad for you. And so like I just use that as a general term of like, in general, whole foods are better than refined foods, but there are some refined foods that aren't bad. Like I would say like kale juice isn't going to spike your blood sugar. It isn't going to, give you sludge blood or anything like that. Okay. Yes, I will come on your podcast. Feel free to just email me or something. You can go to mikethevegan.com and email the email there. I'm looking through the comments. Yes, thank you for my 200,000 subscribers. Couldn't have done it without you. Couldn't have subscribed to myself 200,000 times. Okay. Acrylamide, I need to do more. I really need to do more research on acrylamide because it exists. Definitely something that happens when you're baking these starches at a high temperature, but I don't know how scared of it I really am, and I need to look at the actual real risk of it. Something tells me, I mean, you look at the Okinawans who were eating a lot of whole starches, and I believe there was a decent amount of baking going on. It didn't kill them. It could have been healthy in spite of acrylamide. Are humans real? I love these questions. These questions are great. Question about milks. Who wants to ask me a question about plant milks? Go for it. OMAD. Alcohol. Well, I'll just talk about alcohol while this person gets their question about plant milks out. Alcohol, obviously, it's actually a class 1A carcinogen, which people don't talk about, which is pretty incredible. I have a video on cannabis. Go watch it. The effects of alcohol are pretty bad. However, the myth that they kill brain cells, I was researching this recently, they don't necessarily kill brain cells. They actually sort of disconnect. They sort of interrupt the connection between brain cells, and that can allegedly later be recovered. It's not healthy for your brain, but it doesn't just like nuke a section of your brain or like just soak your brain in alcohol. That is not happening. My favorite type of plant milk is probably almond milk. I try to go for organic almond milk because of the whole like horrible beef situation with conventional. And I don't know. I mean, I like soy milk, but when I made that soy milk, I had that soy milk video. I'm gonna be honest. That soy milk I made was not good. There's something they do to store bought soy milk that magically makes it taste good. It literally tasted like tofu water when I made it. So store bought soy milk I think is great. My own soy milk tastes horrible. Obviously, yes, alcohol also. Yeah, it's again a carcinogen. It contributes to liver cancer. It's not great, and I would obviously suggest against drinking alcohol. Eating alcohol too. It happens. Plant-based news is here. Oat milk, yes. Oatly apparently is huge over in Europe, and we have some oat milk here, but I just don't even. I don't know. It isn't even on my radar. I mean, I have like basically never had it. Okay, hazelnut milk is great. You should watch my video on how to make hazelnut. Vitamin K2. You can make K1 or you can get K1 from plants, and then K2 is actually in pretty high amounts in like sauerkraut and various fermented foods. And it's possible that you don't even need to worry about it on a vegan diet. I should probably do a whole video on it. I mentioned it a few times, but all of the risks for having low K2, the diseases. Vegans have lower levels of all those diseases. Maybe if their K2 was, even higher, they would have even lower incidences of those diseases, but they're doing great. Batch cooking video is actually right. It's coming up next. I mean, it's one of my next videos. I have it. It's like on the top of my list to do. What are my favorite books? I just love all the classic ones, like Dr. Esselstyn's book on heart disease. Garth Davis. If you're not aware of Garth Davis, you should actually check him out. And his Proteinaholic book. The China study is what actually originally got me going in the vegan direction. However, it wasn't the China study chapter, which was allegedly debunked by Denise Minger. However, that is just not even the case. If you look at, there's a very good write-up by I believe she's like a epidemiologist, statistician, talking about all the things Denise Minger did wrong with that. But the point is, it was all the other diseases in that book that I thought were amazing. What did I study? Currently, right now, I'm studying a master's in public health. I'm actually doing that with Mr. Vegan of Mr. and Mrs. Vegan, and so we're sort of on the same schedule. And so I'll be done with that hopefully in the next year or two or something. And yeah. Okay, I'm getting a lot of questions. It's almost impossible to read. I'm trying to read. It's pronounced Oat Milk. Okay, good to know. Next time I'll say Oat Milk. Do you eat vegan cheese? I end up eating vegan cheese as like that rare occasional treat. If I'm at a restaurant or something and they're throwing it on stuff, like there is a local Italian restaurant where I live. I live in Iowa right now, and they have like a vegan ravioli, and I'm pretty sure it has vegan cheese. But if it's going there with people who aren't vegan, it's a perfect option for me to get. Protein powders. Thoughts on vegan protein powders? That's really interesting. I haven't talked about it yet. There are certain combinations of isolated protein that, as you may know, spike IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1, which is, something that can fuel cancer if it's in high levels. And so it's really interesting because I see this, this trend of vegan bodybuilders going for the BCAAs, the branched chain amino acids. And those are the ones that in animal protein spike your IGF-1. And so it's kind of hard for me to be like, you need to stop doing that, but it's obviously not it's not healthy to be taking a bunch of branched chain amino acids. But it's probably going to maybe help them get a little buffer. Who knows? Is it worth it? I don't know. Okay, you want to promote growth hormone? I would have to do research on that. Talk about zoodles. I hate zoodles. That's all you need to know. Vasectomies. Okay, I have a video on intermittent fasting. Go check it out. Vasectomy is a funny thing because it kind of became associated with the vegan movement, with this little antinatalist section of the vegan movement. Plant-based news, Dr. Greger says DHA daily. Other ones say DHA every few days. So it's up to you. And it depends on how much ALA you're eating. I bet a dietitian would say zoodles are pointless. Yes, zoodles are gross. Yes, so many topics. I'm trying to keep it a little bit organized here. Sorry if it feels like I'm jumping back and forth, but back to vasectomies. Do we want to talk about that? I don't know if you want to talk about vasectomies. You can watch my video on children if you're interested in that. How do I take care of myself so I don't burn out like bite-sized vegan? That's a really good question. I was just having this conversation with somebody who was telling me, your Instagram sucks. You should get your Instagram way better. And I was like, yeah, I know my Instagram sucks. But if I end up spending like 20 minutes every time I eat and, stuff like that, I can go completely crazy on, just social media in general. So Right now, you are failing in the organization of your topics. Cancel the organization of my topics. We're going organic. I want to answer questions as they come. Okay? Screw the organization. There is no organization here. Anything under the umbrella of veganism is now fear. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop looking at all these comments because I'm getting a lot of them. So how do I not burn out like Bite Size Vegan? Many of you probably know that Bite Size Vegan stopped making videos because she just was too stressed about it. She still does activism, still travels, still talks and stuff like that. But for me, it's about not making a lot of videos right now. I can only come out with one video a week. I'm also building a tiny house and studying a master's in public health. So I'm at one video a week right now, and that's good for my mental state. One week I think I did 3 or 4, and that really burnt me out. Like when I had dinner with Vegan Gaines once, and he was talking about doing a video almost every day, and how it was definitely weighing heavy on him, and so that kind of made me feel like not something that I want to do. Yeah, one video. I would like to come out with 2 a week. Maybe I'll have some more live chats. Like it's easy to do this and not get super stressed out. But getting burnt out, I think what happened with Emily is she was all about perfectionism, getting everything, just covering everything and doing everything. And I'm just kind of limiting myself and going step by step. I've got a list of 20 videos I'm going to make over the next 20 weeks plus whatever you guys recommend and stuff like that. So it's just keeping it mentally sane. Do I ever get mad while studying because the information is outdated or non-vegan? Because I do. Yes, I've noticed a lot of people's programs. Like, for example, I have a friend who's becoming a medical doctor right now, and I got in a debate with him over the holidays that he said you cannot reverse atherosclerosis, you cannot unclog your arteries. And that, oh my God, was so frustrating. It didn't matter how many studies I mentioned. That's what they heard. That's what you hear in med school. So apparently in his med school. And so that kills me. Yeah, it's interesting looking at, from the public health perspective, because so many of our public health issues are caused by animal products. Especially, I've been doing some epidemiological research, and all of these diseases started from domesticating animals. You've got the flu, apparently we didn't really get before we domesticated ducks. Smallpox are from camel pox. Gregor actually has a talk on it. But even tuberculosis, I did a paper on it, and there's a decent amount of it that's likely caused by bovine tuberculosis transferring over to humans. So it's completely nuts. So I'll open up for another question now. Let's see. Keto. Let's just cut. Can't hear me. Somebody says they can't hear me. Can you not hear me? Give me a yes if you can hear me and a no if you cannot hear me, because I believe I am completely, it says that I'm coming through. Obviously, I mean, everybody would be freaking out if they couldn't hear me, so most people can. Okay, enough of that. Okay, good, you can hear me. So keto diet, I just want to quickly mention, okay, getting a lot of yeses. I want to quickly mention that I am planning to do a keto update video, because that video has the highest dislike ratio of anything. It's a ton of people on the keto diet just denying everything in the video, completely denying all the adverse effects. And there's new information as to why the keto diet is even worse than I mentioned in that video. For example, the kidney stones are worse than I thought. Like 3,000 times the incidence of kidney stones in children that were put on a keto diet versus different children or normal children. And so it just goes on, and so I need to do an update on that. But the part that I'm having a problem is I'm trying to get to people who are on a keto diet, and I tried to do that by saying, here is this woman who's keto, here are the adverse effects of a keto diet that she compiled, and this is her thoughts, and they just completely were like, you're vegan, you're crazy. And so I don't even know if it's worth going at again. It's hard to say. And yeah. So you guys, just so you know, I am probably 4 or 5 seconds behind you. So if I'm a little delayed answering your questions, hopefully that makes sense. Coming to Chicago, meet up in Chicago. I could do another meet. I could go back to Chicago. I'm like 4 hours away. Maybe I'll come by for Chicago Vegan Mania. Interested in the theory that atherosclerosis only occurs in herbivores. So there is a paper by William C. Roberts, I believe, he's a major cardiologist, and he talks about how atherosclerosis can only be induced in herbivorous animals. So yeah, so if you take, I believe that's in terms of animal fat. If you take a dog or a bear or a lion and you feed them a bunch of animal fat, they're not going to get atherosclerosis. If you feed a monkey or a rabbit, they do, and there's so many studies, and it's pretty sickening of like, oh, we cut the rabbit open, and they had atherosclerosis because we fed them animal fat. This is and of course nobody even learns the lesson, and so it just happens again and again. Water only fasting. I'm not a fan of these cleanses where you're basically just restricting calories. I don't think it's good. Is swallowing just be? I knew there was going to be one of those questions. Okay, back to fasting. Sorry for the ADD. I'm just seeing everything at once. Okay, so fasting. You're probably familiar with Doug Graham's water fasts and the health risks of that, and the people. I believe maybe somebody died. Maybe somebody almost died a few years back. I don't think it's good. I think if you want to do some type of cleanse, I would still do like a high fiber cleanse, and a lot of that has to do with, as I talk about in my old juice cleansing video, your liver detoxifies via fiber out of your system. So the vast majority of toxins are not sweated out. A lot of them are peed out, but a lot of them end up being pooped out via the liver, dumping into your small intestine, and then that then binds with fiber and exits your system. That's also the case with hormones. So if you're going on a fast and you aren't eating anything and your body is trying to get rid of these excess hormones, they just get dumped into your small intestine and reabsorbed. Same thing with the toxins. It's just not like you want to keep eating fiber, and there's not, in my mind, there's no reason to go down to 0 calories as well. Like there's just no benefit that I can think of that, the negatives outweigh the benefits on that by far. Which is, I knew I was going to get one of these questions of which one is fake, your beard or your hair. They're both real. They're very real. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go for another question right here. Okay, somebody asked a question. What are my thoughts on peanut butter? Okay, so peanut butter is one of those things that falls directly into the yellow light category, where it's a plant food. It's not a whole plant food, but it's not highly processed. It's not like peanut oil. There's a decent amount of saturated fat in peanut butter, and so I'm not like you should just be guzzling it all the time. But then at the same time, I'm not gonna be like don't eat peanut butter. It's just like don't go crazy with peanut butter. There's nothing. What do you recommend taking for building muscle? So I've actually been working out more recently. I'm probably gonna do a video on this. I've actually probably gained about 20 pounds and I'm not trying to get like huge or anything, but 20 pounds from working out and got a lot stronger. And so I know there are a lot of people out there who are trying to gain weight, and I'm not claiming to be buff by any means or anything like that, but I did get some decent results just by doing some of what Robert Cheek is, who is a vegan bodybuilder. And so just following his advice and talking about what to eat and, how you can still make gains and what are your priorities? Are you trying to get as buff as possible and, cut corners for your health? And I don't know. I'm just trying to be like a normal person and get stronger and gain, strength for aging, aging more gracefully. I'm not going to flex. Okay. Oh, somebody actually loves my curly hair. The last comment, you guys will appreciate this. Maybe one of you even said this. One of my last videos, someone was like, every time I start watching your video, I want to give you $50 for a haircut because your hair is so bad. And I know my hair is messy. I have curly hair and it's the winter time, and so oftentimes I'll have hat hair, and it's hard. It's hard when your hair is just crazy and it's going all the different directions, and I can't sometimes can't deal with it. Okay, bioavailability, B12 and nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast normally has a wide variety of B12. Like it could have enough, it could not have enough, and so they fortify it with B12. So you want to look for one that's fortified with B12 if you're relying on it as a choice as B12. That is what the plant-based doctors will tell you. I'm not a doctor, so there you go. Okay, I am 28 years old, in case people are wondering. Yes, I am 28 years old. I won't cut my hair, but it is going to continue to be messy. There is a guitar in the background. That's like the 10th person that asked. Yes, I do play guitar. I actually was in a rock band in Chicago, and I haven't had enough time to play. I want to play more. I actually started out playing drums. I have an electric cello, too. I kind of learning how to play and play the piano, too, but I kind of just keep that separate. I'm thinking about doing a mini mock musical. Play wonderful. Thinking about doing a little musical. I'm kind of writing a mini musical called Vegan at the Barbecue, and it's kind of going to be like what is your accent? It's American. It's going to be called Vegan at the Barbecue, and it's kind of going to be It's going to be a mock where a vegan goes to a barbecue and basically gets in a sort of like a kind of operatic fight with everybody. I can play bass badly, but it's going to be a back and forth. I'm not sure if it's going to be a puppet show or it's going to be me, or I'm going to get actually actors, but it's going to be like, vegan at the barbecue, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then like back and forth, and then like the pit master getting all mad, and it'll be fun. Maybe someday it'll turn into Vegan the musical on Broadway. Who knows? What are your views on children on a vegan diet? I might as well circle back to the vasectomy question that happened earlier. Children on a vegan diet, I do have a video on that. I believe that children, it's good to continue being a normal human being and having children. Excess children, obviously horrible for the environment. I mean, it's just the truth mathematically. Having a lot of children is every child, obviously you're somewhat responsible for their carbon footprint. And so I believe that I take a super optimistic approach of vegans having children is good, and normalizing veganism right now is more important than that savings in, animal impact that could potentially happen if they don't go vegan, or if, their environmental impact. So if you have a lot of people having healthy vegan children, and that, I believe that contributes to a somewhat intangible shift in paradigm in which people feel that it's healthier and safer and all these things to become vegan, and then people be more vegan. Okay. Thoughts on organic foods. This is a video that I think one of the first 20 videos I was planning on doing was about organic food, and I just never made it. I think it was because it was like, it didn't, there are bigger fish to free. I was gonna say fish to fry, but fish to free is a more vegan setting. All the topics, the anti-vegan people out there to touch on. But in terms of organic food, there's definitely a little bit of exaggeration on the negative health of non-organic food in certain situations. I went through and looked at the actual toxic count, the pesticide count on various, cherries and berries and stuff like that. There's some studies on it, and not as high as I would have thought, like 10, sometimes 100 times below the safe limit. But there are other situations where it is higher. So if you are really worried about it, obviously, and you have the money, obviously going organic is better in terms of pesticides and toxin exposure. But there are so many situations, and I'm going to do a video where I go through food by food, and it's hard because it depends on the grower, depends on the area of the world, depends on things like that. Like, for example, if it's a wet wheat season or a lower growing season for wheat, they will blast it in glyphosate and Roundup, as I talk about in my gluten video. And so it completely depends. Okay, I'm going to keep going on some more questions. Vegan dog food. I see the most success with V-Dog. That's what we fed our wiener dog. I don't know if any of you guys remember Milo. He made it to a ripe old age of 17 before he passed away on a vegan diet for the last few years. And so Milo's no longer with us. Rest in peace, Milo. But he lived a really long time, really long time. So he did V-Dog for a lot of the last few years of his life. And so V-Dog is great. It's a little bit more expensive. There are ways that you can, somebody's just like, he died. Yeah, he did. Yeah, I'm sorry. I feel bad. Yeah, he had a good life. And he was definitely ready to go. But yeah, there's also another, if you don't have money to pay for V-Dog, I would suggest probably making sort of like mimicking the V-Dog recipe and then adding some veggie dog supplement, and then maybe a little bit higher saturated fat than you yourself would eat. But I'm not a dog nutritionist. Talk to a dog nutritionist. When did he die? A couple months ago. Yes. Okay, what is my opinion about fish? I need to do a fish video. I definitely, view fish as any other meat. It shows up as being less healthy for a few reasons. One, it's not a red meat, and so it doesn't have that level of like heme iron carcinogen, but it's still, obviously you're getting all the persistent organic pollutants and the bioaccumulation, and just so many bad things. Oysters, for example, are filtering out. If you've seen that video of where they have a tank of super dirty ass water, and they put oysters in one and leave the other one without oysters. The other one's dirty, and the other one is clear. They're filters. They filter all the toxins, and so oysters, gross bioaccumulation of toxins. So, and it's animal protein. There's every reason to believe that that'll boost your IGF-1, things like that. Fish is disgusting in the smell alone. Yes, exactly. Even I just think fish is gross. I will do a fish video, so don't worry about that. I've done a fish impact, like an environmental video, but I need to do a health video. Did you go to college? Yes, I went. I studied basically environmental sustainability, which is renewable energy and all that stuff. That was a bachelor's in science. Now I'm getting a master's in public health. So that's my educational thing for those that missed a little bit earlier. So I have a video on bivalves. I consider them an animal product. Back to the oysters. I don't eat them. They have nerve cells. They're an animal. I mean, I just no reason to do that. Is hunting/fishing a human/species right? Is hunting humans okay? No. Hunting humans is not okay. I know that vegans are really anti-human. I'm told that a lot. And so, yes, in case you weren't here, I did gain weight and muscle. And I'm going to do a video about it. I'm 28 again. And let's try and get a question that I haven't answered yet. So if anybody has any questions in any other topics, now is the time. Yes, feel free to answer questions for me in there so I don't have to answer it twice, because I know we're getting a little bit of turnover. People in the beginning are gone, and probably people who weren't here in the beginning are just getting here. Yes, good job, people. Okay, what do I think of seitan? What is anti-human? Seitan is, as you know, it's like literally gluten. It's like pure gluten. I think it makes a great textural recreation of meat in restaurants, and I think it's a great treat. I don't consider it like a healthy whole food. I also don't think it's as unhealthy as people would probably think it is. I would venture to say, if I had to put my money on it, in the same way that when you eat 5 to 7 servings of isolated soy protein, you boost IGF-1, I have a feeling that the same thing would happen for seitan. If you're eating 5 plus servings, you probably would boost IGF-1, but I don't know. It's a treat. I view it as a treat. So let's talk about nightshades for a second. I think I need to do a video on that. Certain nightshade proteins can trigger people's immune systems, which is why they're part of an elimination diet. McDougall, I agree with him on things, don't agree with him on other things, but he has some good information on elimination diets and nightshades and why they're not necessarily the best, and how they can hurt you. So tomatoes in general, I believe, are good for you. Journal dude. So they have, the lycopene, and they're just a good fruit that we call a vegetable, and I just believe they're good in a lot of ways. And so I'm not afraid of nightshades personally. I don't have any autoimmune issues. If you do, I would look into that. It's like, if you're a vegan with autoimmune issues, you probably want to look toward nightshades, because you've already gotten rid of dairy, which is a huge autoimmune thing, and all those other things. So IGF-1, for those of you that aren't familiar, is insulin-like growth factor 1, and as I mentioned in a few of my videos, it can fuel cancer at high levels, and it not only helps cancer start, it helps it grow, and it helps it spread. So high IGF-1 is not a good thing for cancer. Okay. Okay. You didn't understand the question. I'm asking, is hunting vegan? Hunting/vegan are right? I still don't understand the question, Michael Stringer. Is hunting/vegan, is it our right to hunt for food? Is that what you're asking? Because I would definitely say no, because if everybody hunted, first of all, you're killing an animal that you don't need to kill, so absolutely not. And second of all, it's kind of the idea that, like, it's not sustainable if only a limited amount of people can do it. So a lot of people view hunting as like, oh, it's so sustainable, it's not factory farming, and obviously this is beyond vegans, it's not factory farming, and blah blah blah. But it's pretty obvious that if everybody decided to hunt, there would just be no animals. I mean, we kill 50 to 70 billion land animals alone every year, and so the idea of hunting that is just completely insane. Hunt for apples, not animals, says vegan Marcella. So yes, that is very true. Yeah, hunting it's just, there's no point. Yes, hunting is what do you not agree with Dr. McDougall? I would have to go through all of his positions, but there are just various claims I've heard him make that I'm just like, ugh. is that really backed by science? And like he might not necessarily have a study for it. And so however, he was totally misconstrued by Durian Rider in the fact that he does not support refined sugar consumption. He said sometimes it's okay to put a few condiments that have refined sugar, like ketchup, on to keep you eating a whole food, whole starch diet. But Durian Rider took that to say you should smash in the sugar, just sugar mountain, not good at all. And that's how that. I don't know if you're familiar with that girl who ended up with high triglycerides on a high sugar, high vegan diet and gained about 90 pounds. Not a good thing. Is it okay to be an unhealthy vegan? Being an unhealthy vegan, I think you should always treat yourself. You're an animal. Would you wouldn't mistreat an animal, so why would you mistreat yourself? So be healthy, make healthier choices. It's good, and then you can feel better and be a better advocate, I guess. I mean, I'm kind of weird about saying like shape your whole life around advocating for veganism, but it's a win-win situation. If you become healthier, then you're gonna feel better, and everyone's gonna feel better about you being vegan as well. Okay, opinion on backyard eggs. So yeah, I have a friend who started doing backyard eggs, and it was very obvious. Just kind of trying to get my like ethical permission that it was okay. It happens to me a lot where like people will come to me and be like, hey, can you kind of give me this vegan stamp of approval on my decision to exploit animals? And so obviously my answer is always no, but this is a situation where a girl got some chickens in her backyard and was like, oh, this is great. And then it was like, oh, and then our dog ate 5 of the chickens, and we had to get them from these breeders, which obviously the breeders are, it's messed up. They're breeding these animals and selling them, and then the men chickens, the male chickens are obviously not getting the same life. So basically, if you trace it back, backyard chickens are killing male chicks in some capacity, and things are going to go bad, and it's also creating an exploitative relationship with the animal. Like you just wouldn't have. It's just not a healthy relationship to be like, I have you here because I'm taking something from you, and it just creates it's just a bad pressure. Obviously, it's not vegan. In case you're wondering, no, it's not vegan to have backyard eggs, and so I'm just not. Yeah, I'm not in support of it. There's a lot of reasons I'm not for it. And chickens, things are going to go wrong with the chickens. They're also bred to lay about 20 times more eggs than their body originally was. As I mentioned in a couple of videos, the guinea fowl, their ancestors laid about 10 eggs per year. They lay over 200, and that leads to all this egg binding. And I believe it's about the majority. There's a study that said the majority of hens over the age of 2 have ovarian cancer. We've just bred them to suffer a bit, and so I'm just not cool with that. Okay, salt and iodine, discuss please, says Stacy Vanderhulst. Iodine, I believe we are over-consuming as a nation. I am sort of the idea that you're gonna get. See, I'm not a nutritionist, so I don't like saying you're gonna get enough. You're gonna get enough iodine from your diet, and it varies. Like for example, there's certain situations where just 3 potatoes will give you 70% of your iodine, but it depends on where they're grown. And so, as I mentioned in my hypothyroidism video, there's an issue with too much iodine as much as there is an issue with not enough iodine. And so I'm not a fan of like pounding down the iodized salt. I would say it's not bad to like include in really small amounts in your diet, but if you're just going like iodized salt all the time, I mean, they had a study that I mentioned in my hypothyroidism video where they had, I believe it was in China, there was just the natural water source was high iodine, and the goiter rate in children was like 60%. Not that you're consuming as much iodine as them, but it's like pounding down the iodine. I don't see the reason, and you don't have to eat it with salt. You can eat it with sea vegetables as well, as Dr. Greger will say. Doctor said it. You didn't get it from me. Okay. Yes, Simnet Nutrition has some great videos. You should check out Simnet Nutrition. Okay, palm oil. I need to do a video on palm oil. Is palm oil vegan or not? My immediate sort of feeling is I don't even support oil anyway, so it's like why would you eat palm oil? Or like I'm not super super into the idea of eating oil, so that's one more reason I don't support it. But there's obviously the orangutan connection and the rainforest of Indonesia being torn down. Now I love it. Now we have sustainable palm oil farms, and I kind of joke that it's like, that's just on an orangutan graveyard right now. No more orangutans are dying. So it's great. But obviously not all of them involve orangutan death. But it's sort of an idea of, it's something that there's a lot of bad stuff going on in the industry. So supporting the industry, which can be a little black and white, but for somebody that already doesn't want to eat it, and it's usually in very junky foods like Oreos, no killing orangutans. It's not vegan, Brian Washington. Okay, how much potatoes is too much to eat a day? That's a really good question. I have no idea. It depends on how big the potatoes are. Fingerling potatoes, you could probably eat like 100 fingerling potatoes and be fine. I would just look at the calories. I mean, I don't know if there's a negative impact of eating potatoes other than like just eating way too much calories and not feeling good and eating more than you need to. Palm oil. Okay, we're done with palm oil. I'm moving on from palm oil. Plant protein, I discussed that earlier. This video will be posted on my channel for a bit at least, and if people like it, I'll leave it up and you can go back and see some of the other questions. I did plant protein powder. I talked about that already, so you can watch that later. Dr. Greger says potatoes are unhealthy. That's too bad. I will still eat potatoes. Flaxseed lowering testosterone, I had to see studies on that. So flaxseed actually has higher levels of phytoestrogen per gram than soy. However, the study that they did where they took a bunch of soy phytoestrogen and concentrated it did not change blood levels of hormones. And so I would doubt that flax would actually change your blood levels of hormones. Again, just to emphasize the point, milk does. Milk basically, as you've seen, I've said this so many times, that one study that showed after drinking milk raised estrogen by 20%, estrone, one type of estrogen by 20%, and lowered testosterone by 20%. So yeah, compared to, flax and soy are not going to do it. I very much doubt it. Yes, I would send me a link to where Dr. Greger said potatoes are unhealthy, because I find that very, very hard to believe. Maybe there's some situation he might have mentioned acrylamide or something like that. Okay, so I'm gonna troll for another question. Sorry, I'm looking away from the camera. I know that's a sin. Thoughts on lab-grown meat? I have a video on lab-grown meat as well. Gregor never said that, says someone. He never said that potatoes aren't healthy. Thoughts on canned beans / veggies? Okay, so I do eat a moderate amount of canned. I end up going to Costco, so I will end up getting some canned black beans, for example. And so, I don't know. It's hard to say, because we've got this aluminum can. People are worried about aluminum. I don't think the aluminum is getting in, because you have it completely coated, which is what BPA was the concern of, because that's in the coated can. It's in the plasticizer, which is BPA is just one component of that. However, BPA, and I need to do a video on this, BPA is just one endocrine disruptor. A lot of plastics have a lot of different endocrine disruptors, and so it's just like eating out of plastic. Like, I view cans as eating food out of plastic, because it's completely coated, it's coated in a plasticized rubber. And so I'm not super anti-canned food, like just the convenience. If it's a choice between eating some canned beans or going out and eating some fast food or something, then I would definitely say go for the canned foods. But, getting something like an Instant Pot, you can cook beans pretty fast, or you can cook them overnight. You don't need to worry about burning them and all that stuff. Okay, so I'm getting a lot of questions about Candida. Somebody's confused. I'm sorry. This is going to be a confusing video. Candida is an issue that primarily seems to be from consuming refined foods and refined carbs plus refined oil, because many of you know about intracellular lipids, where you're getting fat in the muscle cell and it's preventing your blood sugar from basically it's preventing your body from responding appropriately to sugar, and so that can lead to blood sugar spikes, which can then feed Candida. And there's just anything that's a blood sugar spike, or having also Candida like overgrowth within your gut, from just having a lot of refined sugar. There's just refined foods are not good for Candida from everything that I've read. I could do a whole video on Candida, but it's just, whole foods are better. Okay, one thing I want to talk about, talking about Candida and blood sugar spikes in whole foods, is I know a lot of you aren't able to eat 100% whole foods all the time in terms of preparation, in terms of scheduling, and there are a couple hacks. I'm kind of going to do a hack video on this, but I'll give you a little bit of a preview on this. Is there, if you look at a study where if you have to eat oil, for example, if you're also eating raw kale, it will actually blunt the effect of that artery paralysis by about half. And so, carry around some, if you're on a road trip or something, bring some raw kale and eat it with your horrible refined foods that you have to eat if you can't figure out something else to eat. And there's just tricks like that, throwing greens on it. And I think this is really interesting because it's actually what chimpanzees do. If they end up eating meat, they will shove greens down their throat. And I'm not saying to eat meat, but eating things that aren't, your body is not meant to process. If you buffer them with greens and stuff like that, then yes, kale. Garlic kills Candida. Yes, there's some good studies on garlic killing various things, including Candida, which is pretty awesome. And I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm probably going to wrap it up here so that people can watch it later without thinking that's so long, I'm never going to watch it. And I do need to head out in a bit, so I'm going to take a couple more questions. So somebody who's been here for the whole time, throw out a question that hasn't been asked yet, hopefully, because we've covered a lot of amazing topics, actually. Kombucha, why not? Kombucha has some negative effects in terms of the microbiome. I believe the level of fungi, your body is probably not meant to just douse it. I look at kombucha as more like a medicinal low, you want to have a low amount. You don't want to be chugging like several cups or whatever. It cannot be good. And there's some actual good information on that I'll try and get to you at some point in the future. But I'm not the biggest fan of kombucha. I like it a little bit. Actually, I'm more a fan of water kefir, which I believe does not include fungi, which I think doesn't throw your balance off as much. No, I've not met Joey Carbstrong. Third time that was asked. Yeah, he's in the news a lot. There's a lot of crazy things that. Yes, let's talk a little bit about animal activism before I'm done. So yeah, I don't know if you saw my February video, and I also showed Earthling Ed getting physically assaulted by that farmer, which is pretty crazy. And it's kind of a crazy time right now, especially in the UK. It makes me mad every time I see all these headlines. It's like, oh, of course it's in the UK. Oh, there's vegan cheese on all of the pizza in Pizza Hut. Oh yeah, that's just nationwide in the UK. So it's great. It's awesome to see this happening, but it's annoying. And so I do see a lot of really good activism happening there, and getting covered by the BBC and stuff. I believe he was on. Joey Carbstrong was on the BBC and things like that, and having these debates is awesome. We've had a little bit of national television coverage with people like Dr. Garth Davis on The Doctors, but other than that, we have not seen the animal activism make its way as much. However, there was a recent situation, it might have been in Florida. I know one of the girls, Ethically Elizabeth, who was highlighting this, is from Florida, I think, of some police brutality of an animal activist, and this person apparently lost their job, and they were beaten, and they had a really rough time because they were considered high risk and stuff like that because they were involved in animal activism. So if anybody is familiar with this person, yes, in Florida, if you know their name, feel free to say it down below. I'm going to talk about it in a video in the future. I'm going to reach out to him and try and interview him. But yeah, there's kind of an interesting climate of animal activism happening right now. It's sort of there's different levels of extremeness, but sorry, I'm trying to see if I can. No one knows this guy's name. Okay, no. But I have been to a few more intense, direct action everywhere activism, and most of it isn't my thing. I believe in creative activism. Some things that have been done by DXE I really appreciate, but I'm not the kind of go shout at people kind of type guy. I think it's great to get a lot of people on the streets, especially in the U.S. here, everywhere, but in the U.S. it's good to happen more. I know they were also, I see actions all the time. Anyway, I'm sure you do if you're following these people. Yes, I do know the YouTuber Ask Yourself. And so I'm going to take one more question. Opinions on unnatural vegan. I think you know my opinions on unnatural vegan. I think we've established those opinions by now. It's really just that she hates me. It's not. I have nothing against her. No, I do think that people should chill out when they're hating on unnatural vegan and like try and take the violence out of it and get a lot of very very scary comments when I mention her. I actually stopped mentioning her in videos partially because when I do, there are a lot of comments about how people like basically want to kill her, and so that is kind of an issue. Okay, so I'm a wrap it up here with the best type of, is this a B12 question? Someone's talking about what's the best type of B12. I would say that there isn't actually as much of a difference between different B12s as you would think. I looked at the study in depth that compared the bioavailability of methylcobalamin and cyanocobalamin, and at really high doses, methyl absorbs a little bit more, and at lower doses, cyano actually absorbs a little bit more. So if you're trying to get like as much as possible, maybe methyl, but honestly, people are just massively over-consuming B12. It's more about less more often because your body can only absorb like nanograms at a time. And so if you take 5 B12 pills with 5,000 micrograms of B12, like you're still going to only absorb a tiny, tiny bit. So if you're really trying to get your status up, little more often is, from a mathematical perspective, what's the best thing to do. And like cyano versus methyl isn't really going to make a difference. However, there is a connection between really high B12 intake and acne, because the theory is that it actually creates so much B12 in your system at once that your skin bacteria stop making their own B12. It's like a weird thing that allegedly happens. I need to do more research on it, and then it can create sort of an imbalance in your skin and then create acne. So that's kind of a weird thing, and there are some studies showing that a small portion of people who take B12 can get that high doses. So you don't need to take super duper high doses, I guess. Okay, so I think somebody has a pet pig. Oh my god, I wish you could post some pictures. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap it up real quickly. Getting a lot of questions that I've already answered between flaxseed and the China study, which I talked about. So feel free to go ahead and go back and watch this and just pretend it's live. It'll be exciting. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for helping me get to 200,000 subscribers. That's pretty nuts. We'll see. I'm curious to know what the kind of ceiling is for like a vegan dude, because I know all these like vegan chick hottie ladies can just like crank up to like 500,000 subscribers or whatever, like no problem. And so I don't know. Who knows what'll happen. So all right, thank you so much. I am going to sign off here, but this is great. You're part of the first ever Mike the Vegan live chat, and it went pretty smoothly. We had good service and stuff, and stuff, good internet connection. So thanks so much. Bye. Enjoy your day. Have a good weekend. I know everybody, I guess someone's in New Zealand, so it's already like the next day there. So have a good morning. All right. Bye. I'll see y'all later next live stream. Okay. Bye.